Record this session, and this is really all about creating opportunities for us to come together as a community, learn from each other, and share what we're working on. So very excited to have McLean Merck, who is our director of, I always have to double check this, director of the Enterprise Project Management Office out of Hewitt's Administrative Technology Services Group. And so he's going to be talking a little bit today about communities of practice. So, McLean, I'd love to hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Deirdre. I see some familiar faces and some I don't know. So thanks for the intro. My name is McLean. I'll bring down to earth what what sounds like a fancy title and role. I have the privilege of leading a group of project managers here in Hewitt who deliver big transformational projects to the organization, generally involving technology. So things like new construction in Alston or major system implementations. Those are the types of things that run through our office. And Deirdre's right. I submitted this as a IT Summit breakout session that wasn't chosen, but I was really happy to hear when she contacted me after that and got me on the calendar to talk to you guys this morning. So I have a couple of favors to ask. One, I'd like this to be interactive. So raise your hand using the Zoom tool or put things in the chat. If you have questions or comments, ideas, things like that, don't necessarily wait till the very end to share them. I'd love to hear what you have to say as we go through this. And let me see if I can get ready to go here. All right. So I'm assuming you came here because you either want to build a community of practice or you're interested in getting involved in one. Um, I'll start with a little storytelling. I have been at Harvard for almost 3 years now. And when I started here, Jason Schaffner, who's my manager, one of the priority items he suggested to me is that we restart the PM community of practice. There was an active group, and then through the course of COVID and some org changes, it had stopped. And it was one of the things he felt was really important. And to be really transparent with all of you, I felt there were bigger matters at hand or other things that we needed to take care of. But he persuaded me to do this, and we did relaunch what's known as the PDF. I'll explain more about that in a minute. Um, and I'm really glad he did that actually, because we have managed over the course of the last couple of years to foster a pretty good community of in the again, I've named it product or project delivery community, and I'll explain that in a moment as well. But we tend to get about anywhere from 40 to 60 people at monthly meetups, who come often based on the topics that we're creating or delivering or talking about. Um, and it's really been a great experience for me because I was unfamiliar with building a community practice or even sort of how to grow and maintain this. And it's how I ended up here today because now I consider myself somewhat knowledgeable about this, and I'm going to share some of the things I learned. So without further ado, I will explain a little bit about the PDF. We have done about 25 of these sessions over the course of the last several years. We started in May 2023. Our average is around 45 people a session. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but that's about the average attendees. Um, we we've taken the approach to push content to the community as opposed to pulling it from them, which would be or like an office hours approach where they bring the content. So there's these follow a pretty predictable formula. We all get on the Zoom. Uh, there's some opening remarks. Sometimes even Deirdre shows up as a guest speaker to promote like training. I've had Brian come from the TA team to highlight, positions that were open. There's just some getting settled talk. And then about 10 minutes into this, I hand it off to the sort of keynote speaker and then we dive into a specific topic. Another important point on this is I've always wanted this to be what I call news you can use. So and with most of these sessions are oriented that way, where I've always told people I want people to be able to leave one of these sessions, and if it was relevant information, folks can go back and sort of apply this at their desk, whatever they're, maybe not immediately, but in the next few days or weeks, like they encounter something where they can apply what they've learned. So because of that, we cycle through a lot of topics that are relevant to community members, but it's basically focused on what I would call storytelling and learning. We don't use this as an avenue to roll out new process, guidelines or bureaucracy or anything like that. It is meant to be a welcoming sort of collaborative environment where we discuss things relevant to the community. A couple examples of this include I've had guest speakers come and talk about the basics of user experience. We've done multiple sessions focused on agile techniques, tools, techniques, things like that. The InfoSec team joined us, or I guess, sorry, they're now known as PrivSec, I believe, and Rick Gallagher, or sorry, Joe Gallagher showed up and explained how to sort of weave security into your project from beginning to end, which I thought was really good topic, especially in the environment we find ourselves now. I've had multiple people stop, guest speakers, both internal and external, talk about change management, which is another area we've hoping to grow our abilities in Hewitt. So those are
Alarm
a
for
couple of
10:45.
examples
Alarm set for
that I'll share.
10:45 a.m.
Robert, I think if you don't mind, yeah, there you go. Okay, thank you. Um, um, I'll explain more about building this backlog of topics, but it gives you an idea what the PDF's coming from. And now to some really basic stuff, the logistics of this. It's anchored by a Slack room. You can see the address there. If you're not a member, feel free to head over and join. We have what I call almost 1 hour meetups every month. There's a Zoom and in-person option for this. Attendance is predominantly Zoom. Probably 1 in 10 people who come join via Zoom. Um, all the sessions are recorded and shared, which I wondered why people would want that. And I got some really great feedback when I asked people who asked me, like, did you record this? I asked them, yes, we did. Can you mind explaining to me how you're going to use this recording? And people said things like, I watch it when I'm on the treadmill, or I watch it when I'm it's like, again, it's like this bite-sized learning that they can fit in. Maybe they had a conflict that day, or it's something to do when you're otherwise doing something monotonous, like walking on the treadmill or doing something like that. So I learned a lot about how people are using the recordings for this. And then last point is marketing, marketing, marketing. I think that's what makes this possible is hyping up all the activities that we plan and put on. We hit people through email, calendar invites, Slack messages, Teams messages, all sorts of ways to sort of make sure they have awareness this is happening. Um, any questions before I move on? Comments, apprehensions? Very good. Okay. All right, so moving right along. This is called a group exercise or group interaction here. So let's try this out. If you head over to the chat or raise your hand, is anyone here actively involved in community of practice here at Harvard? Or more importantly, do you have an idea for one? That would be cool too. Um, I see people raising their hands. Anybody want to elaborate on the ones that you are involved in? I see Cody. Yeah, you're a great attendee to the PDF. Um,
Yeah, so I founded the vulnerability management community practice here at
ah,
Harvard. Uh, so I never really had any formal training in how to do that, so I'm here to see how I can improve.
all right. Well, you're in great hands because I didn't have any training either, Bill. So, um, I see UX. Yeah, that's great. AI. There's a lot of AI activity. Salesforce, excellent. AV, Apex. Yeah, so we got a lot of good representation here. In fact, some of these folks you'll see on a page later on where I'm explaining all of the community practices that are available to us here at Harvard. Anybody else want to hype community practice that you're involved in or lead up? Yeah. Anybody have an idea for one that you want to launch? That would be awesome if you brought something that with you. I see Sean McCarty, engineering community practice. Excellent. Sean, hold that thought because we may actually come back to you and help you come up with ideas for this.
Yeah, and there are a couple others. Paul is interested in BA, community of practice. Liz is interested in a field support community of practice. So there are some additional ideas in the chat.
Okay, right on. Okay, all right. So we've got some folks who are familiar with this and some folks who want to get their feet wet on it. This is good news. I was hoping this would be the group that showed up for this. So first, without getting into the mechanics of this, I'll explain, you know, why we did this. Certainly for the PM community practice, I've got a couple pages here that I won't read to you, but I'll touch on the highlights. One is learning. You know, the community practice that we have now, I think, is more important than it was even 2 or 3 years ago because of sort of where Harvard finds itself, and we're looking internally to produce some of our own learning. ITA is a great example of that, where instead of heading to external classes that incur expenses, you know, you can now head over and learn things inside. I've always viewed the PDF as very complementary to the ITA, not in competition to it with it. There's also like these great spontaneous opportunities where people in the Slack channel will write like, you know, does anyone know if we have a way to do this, or is anyone familiar with this? There's been some really great interaction with the members of the community just asking that question into the Slack channel, and having someone respond has been pretty great. I'll move to the far right. There's some great benefits to getting very Harvard specific help from people rather than heading out to Google and, you know, asking or ChatGPT, like, how do I do this? Because you can tap into a lot of the knowledge that we have, you know, already here. I think what's the expression? The answer is already in the room. That's like a great description for the community of practice. Like uh, you know, the thing that you're wondering or trying to figure out is may not be that novel as you think it is, and maybe someone else has solved it. So we're sort of creating an avenue for people to talk to one another and sort of help one another laterally. Moving right along, I, you know, when Jason and I first talked about this, I explained to him I wanted to be I wanted to be the YouTube rather than the Netflix. And my example is kind of funny. Like, I wanted other people to bring the content to the PDF rather than me being the studio that creates all of it. So professional development has been a great facet of this too, almost unplanned, really. You know, I've had great guest speakers both inside and outside of Harvard who brought really fantastic learning, and it was a development opportunity for them to get up and do public speaking or to engage with large, you know, members of the community for, you know, on topics that they were passionate about. Goes out saying, I'm in the middle of the page here, collaboration. That's the spirit of the community practice that we're running, and I think most of them is, you know, getting lateral sort of cross silo collaboration happening amongst the community members, sharing ideas, sharing questions. I think a community practice like this, it makes it really easy to maybe pose a question or seek out help from others without traversing, you know, what could otherwise be a complex hierarchy of, you know, across Harvard. Lastly, and I really like this about the PDF, and I would urge, if you're thinking about running one or you're running one and need some help, what I like about the PDF is I call it voluntary and episodic. So it's we have about 40, 50 people come to every PDF, but it's never the same people. Like they tend to opt in on whether they're available or whether the subject matter that we're talking about is relevant to them, which I think is really cool. Like or we've had people start a new dialogue in the, you know, in the community that led us in a different direction, maybe that we wouldn't have found otherwise if they hadn't spoken up. So in other words, to say it somewhat directly, this is not a big time commitment to the community members to be part of this. There is a time commitment to the moderator and to the promoters of this, which I'll get to in a minute. But hopefully these points here resonate with you over the last couple of pages of why we've set off on this journey to build community practice. Uh, I'll pause here for a second. Any questions, comments, apprehensions?
Hammer Estate.
Hi, Amrish.
Yeah, go ahead, Muriel.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Who's on the call? I can't hear Amrish's voice. Hello?
Oh, yeah, Muriel, maybe you're having audio problems. I don't know, Deirdre, maybe you can help her in the background. All right. Any other questions? I'm gonna keep going here. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great on time. Okay. So before you get started, here's what I would urge. Again, I probably didn't do this. I probably had ended up doing this halfway through this. And this is an important step if you want to build or sort of enhance upon your community practice. You have to really understand the focus of what your community is going to do. What I mean by that is there has to be some common thread or threads amongst the community members that bring people together. That's your foundation. So if we're building a house, you want there to be some commonalities and shared interests, sort of like-mindedness amongst the people. That's the concrete slab upon which you build this community house, so to speak. And I've put out some examples here, like, it could be a specific technology. You even saw in the chat, like it could be Salesforce, it could be Apex, it could be about networking, right? Like these are broad technology topics that I think could probably support a community of practice. Or it could be a service, and that's where project management comes in, or agile, or we have community practices based on tools themselves. Like some of the technology that we use is so complex you could actually fill an agenda itself for quite some time about using the tools, the ways that you could do case studies or testimonials, how people are making the tool effective, things like that. Or you could target like professional subject matter. You could have a communications community practice or architecture standards, QA methods, things like that. These are just ideas that I'm putting out there, but you need to find a handful of these that allow people in the community to coalesce around them so that it sort of binds together each episode of this. And then lastly, it could be like the last topic here is sort of a mishmash of all the things above it. Like it could be things that we want to incubate, sustainability. I actually don't know if there's a sustainability community practice, but it actually seemed like it might be a good idea to me while I was putting these slides together. Again, user experience. There's endless topics. There actually is a UX community of practice, as you've seen, or technology trends, which I think probably speaks to itself. AI seems to be dominated that trend right now. So anyway, this would be step one in the course of you building your community practice is figure out what will this group, what area or areas will it focus on? And then upon that, you're going to start to create spokes out from that. Yeah, Cody asks, are there university-wide COPs? Or are they mostly Hewitt internal? I think the answer to your question is yes to all the above. I think there are many Hewitt ones, but I think there are indeed Harvard-specific ones as well. ABCD is a great example. And there is an Agile subgroup to that often talks about university-wide matters. Okay, so again, step one, figure out where you're going to focus. Figure out where you're going to sort of plant your flag and build around that. That's an important step one that I think I probably did step 2 or 3. So, all right, everybody still with me? Everybody paying attention? I see a thumbs up from Simone. Excellent. Very good. I haven't lost you yet. 20 minutes into this. All right. So now we're going to get into the actual nuts and bolts of doing this, and I'm sharing you my view from doing PDF, but I welcome I welcome anybody jumping in who's involved with PDF or community practices or want to know more. Please do. So this is the easiest flow chart you'll ever see. Certainly today. Um, and I'll double click into each one of these, but you start with envision the why. That's a little bit about what I just explained. Like figure out why are we doing this? Why do we need why do we need a community practice? I'll explain more about this in a minute. Once you have your why, you want to shop it around to people who you think are good members of this community and actually get their feedback. Like find out what their priorities are, find out what they would like to see in a community. Once you have these two things, you can start building a plan of actually how to launch your community. And you want to make kind of a splash when you do this. The sounds like cliche, but first impressions last a lifetime. So you want to your first couple of these, you want to be a good example to what they can expect later on. And then lastly, grow and maintain. So once you get something in place, then there's like this sort of circle that just keeps happening. You want to keep everyone's attention and sort of churning out events and interactions with people. So I'll start with the first one. You want to have a crisp vision that brings everybody together is the headline I gave this. You want this to be engaging. You want to apply some real active listening about what people's needs are, what their challenges they're facing, things like that. And I've given some helper text here too. Like you might just want to make yourself vulnerable and ask your initial group of community, what would you find valuable in us gathering as a community? I think if you do that and ask that simple of a question, which we did, one or two series into this, we got some great feedback about what people really wanted to see in the community, and we've taken that to heart and put it into place. Again, another one. You want to fill a gap. Like there has to be some value proposition to this to the attendees or the members. Whether it's like practices that are in the community, maybe they're inconsistent, or things that you want to collaborate on to improve. Again, if you ask a group of members of a community, where do you find challenge or what your needs are? I can tell you that when I asked the PM community of that, I got very, very distinct feedback about what they were looking for. Now that's might be a characteristic unique to PMs who are quite frequently they're no strangers to telling people like what the challenges are and what they need to be satisfied by them. But I would urge you to try this out if you're just starting one, or if you're looking to reboot a community. I think if you ask people their needs and then you start filling them, you'll find that they reciprocate. Oh, and another thing here too. One is, oh, sorry, Michelle, do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to cut this off, but I had a quick question. Because in a previous slide you mentioned that you typically push content to the community rather than collect. But I feel like that conflicts with what you just mentioned in terms of like getting feedback from your community about like how it would help you. So I'm about to launch a community of practice, and I'd really love to know how to like reconcile those two.
Oh, good question. Thanks for asking that. I I ran a poll early on in this. Again, just a simple Qualtrics poll asking people kind of these questions, like what kind of content do you want to see? What would you find valuable? What are your challenges? Which is sort of an indirect way of hearing what content they want to hear. So we ran a poll. Penny King on my team actually helped with this, and there were no shortage of feedback. I feel like that first poll that we ran, we got 40 or 50 ideas about content, and it became our backlog that we worked from for future sessions. So did I answer your question? Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
It gives me a lot of
Um,
good ideas.
yeah. Yeah. It was as simple as asking out loud and running a poll, and then it sort of became a shopping list. All right. Oh, let's do one on UX. We'll do one on status reporting, things like that. So anyway, good question. I guess your takeaway here is don't be afraid to ask people what they want. They will tell you they will tell you what they're really seeking in this. Um, and then another one here, which I'll emphasize here, you want to create sort of convincing messages that are easy to understand, which now that I look at that, that bullet is not easy to understand. So I'll elaborate on it. Um, you don't want to use a bunch of, like expensive words or hard to obscure words when you're explaining what this community is. Speak in like really common language. And again, what's in it for me is one of the things you want to weave into your messaging when you're sort of building out your vision here. So keep it simple, right? So that people that way you're gonna at least grab the attention of your likely members of your community and get their feedback if you keep it really super simple. Um, any other questions before I move on from this first step of just creating the vision for your community? No? Okay. Deirdre, we're doing great on time. Okay. Um, Next step is you've got an idea for a community, but you don't have community members. So you're going to have to go out and recruit some people. You want to be intentional about this, and I'll explain that in the third bullet here, but also a little vague actually to sort of lure people in. And another thing which I learned, which I'll pass along, is you want to lose any fear or trepidation that you have about engaging with large groups of people. Just put yourself out there. You um, uh, Before you all got on the call, I was telling Deirdre I didn't know how many people were going to show up for this, but I felt like if 7 of the right people showed up, that's a big win. It looks like we have way more than that. I see 92, so that's awesome. The so the uh, but again, you want to think about who could be members of my community and then reach out to them, get in touch with them, give them these simple messages that we talked about in the vision to sort of pique their interest and maybe get them engaged. I saw a hand go up. Maybe it went down though. Question. Okay. Um, uh, Now so I'll walk you through an example of the project management community. You want to think about roles or that people play in the organization or areas who will find value. So in ours, we picked out obviously project managers was an easy place to start. But we also talked about like let's pick up business analysts or let's pick up scrum masters, org change managers. Again, these are people who are involved in the delivery of projects here who probably would have an interest in some of the topics we're going to talk about. So now I'm on to the third bullet. Like you want to like start with your core, but then focus on adjacent areas who might also be interested in your community. And again, make contact with them. Um, you might also want to find a sponsor. I'm the sponsor and also the producer of the PDF, but that doesn't have to be that way. It could be 2 people. Like many things in life, if you can find someone senior and who will lend their name to your community and help you advocate for it, I think that would be definitely a good step. Um, um, and then lastly, yeah, this is like one of my favorite things. In the course of recruiting members, there's going to be some folks who emerge as community champions, I would call them, or like really active members of the community. Those are people you want to stay in regular contact with. Michelle, there are also people who like once you build a backlog, you could tap into them too and say, hey, do you want to present on this? Or, hey, I'm thinking about doing a session or building some content on this. What do you think? Those upper tier members of your community will be really helpful in sort of bouncing ideas off of if they're passionate about your topic. So anyway, your takeaway from this slide is once you have your vision, you need to head out and tell people about it. And you can't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid that people will find what you're gonna say dull or uninteresting. I think most people will respond quite positively and share with you what they think or their interest in being part of the community. Everybody still with me? We're halfway through my simple flowchart. Good. Okay. Um, Next one is you need to plan the launch of this if you don't already have a community. You want to make a good first impression when you launch this. I mentioned earlier, Penny King on my team helped me put together for months before we actually launched the PDF. A lot of good information about our, again, marketing, how we were going to do this, the sort of rhythms that we were going to establish with this. If you want to know more about those, I didn't include them in the slide deck because there's a lot of content. But if you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to share that with you after this. But anyway, again, think through the basics. Like, we started with just a digital presence, that Slack channel that I mentioned, and we started hyping up, and announcing that we're going to do this in the channel that we had. I'm going from memory here right now. There's about 165 members of that Slack channel at the moment. It grows one or two people, every couple of weeks, people who learn about this. But it's a good, easy way to reach people directly to their desktops. Yeah, I'm not here to tell you have to use Slack. You could use Teams, you could use Confluence. There's a lot of tools here you could create as your home base to announce matters related to your community. We do a live meetup, which we have in addition to the Zoom option. We get anywhere from 6 or 8 people in person in the room, and then another like 40 or so online. I don't have a preference of how people join, but I do find it useful. The live meeting is kind of nice, and another member of my team, Catherine, often brings like cookies or baked goods, and we enjoy that. It's an added perk if you actually come in person to the live meetup. Like I said, first impressions last a lifetime. So you want to make a meaningful splash up front of you want everything to be buttoned up, and you want it to be engaging. You want people to feel value in it. We certainly did that when we first several ones that we started this with, and it has paid off over time. There's also some group norms you want to foster. You want to make it okay for people to head out to your Teams or Slack channel and ask questions. I've never really written these down, I suppose, but my group norms on PDF it happens about once a month. It's not every month, obviously. Like we're skipping November because of some obvious reasons of the holidays and things like that. But we generally produce 8 or 9 of these every year. There's just certain times. We usually skip May as well because commencement and sort of the end of school happening is not a good time to gather. So, but anyway, you're gonna want to think about what your norms are, and maybe even tell the community, like, you can expect this once a quarter or once a month, or you can expect me to share the recording, the day after we're done, things like that. So, and I see a question. Oh, KISS. Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, Michelle, you asked, you haven't heard of this. KISS is keep it simple, stupid is the is the acronym. So anyway, when you launch, you want to be buttoned up, and again, you want to be creating value for people so they return to your meeting. All right, one final part of my simple flow chart here. Need to grow and maintain it. So once you've established this, now you've created some expectations of what's going to happen going forward. And I'll go through some of these, maybe not all of them. Marketing is key. We hit people up, and this is one of those things where in Harvard, I think we probably show some room for improvement here. We hype this up. There's like this rolling thunder before every PDF where, the community gets a Slack post, then maybe they get an email from me, and then maybe the calendar invite is updated, and then the day before there's an @here to the Slack channel. Like we have a pretty predictable formula here. I don't know if anyone's picked up on it, but we create this awareness. This event is happening, and it is marketed directly to you, the community members. I sort of talk about like why they would want to attend, things they can expect while they're there. we're introducing a new concept, or we've got an exciting guest, things like that. Don't be afraid to turn on the hype machine and promote your event. It will definitely increase the engagement and the attendance for sure. Second, if you're the proprietor or moderator of this, you're going to want to start building a content. I have a Word doc where I store a bunch of the ideas. Again, those came directly from the community in some places, where we have a list of ideas, and then we every once a month we pull one off and put it in the pipeline to start being developed upon. So, and again, rely on your community to come up with some of these ideas. And actually another great tip is if someone suggests, hey, let's do a focus on this subject, then say right back to them, that's an excellent idea. Why don't you get started on building the content for it? You can be the speaker for it. So next one here I have called just adjusting the dials, which is a cutesy way of saying try out different things. Try out. We've done all virtual ones. I think we've done a PDF on every single day of the week. I'll share with you that I think Wednesday and Thursday are the best days to do these because of some pretty easy reasons. Like people often take Monday and Friday off. Thursday afternoon seems like a sweet spot, at least what I've learned in this, because it's that time of the week where many people are, if you do it at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, they're like reaching the end of their week, and they're like, oh, here's something that I can join and learn from. It doesn't get in the way of work happening, in other words. But don't be afraid to try different things, different avenues, different ideas, different formats. You'll learn, and the community will tell you what works through their feedback. And now on the last two. One is, if you're the moderator of this, you should be purposeful about the event that you're going to put on. You're going to need to carve out time to do this. To put on the PDFs, this probably takes me, I'll take a guess, somewhere between 6 or 8 hours a month to produce a PDF. There's pre-meetings with the guest speaker. There's, again, putting this hype out. There's even administrative things like sending the recording to everybody. So you're going to need to make time to do this, block time in your schedule to do this. Cody, I see you have your hand up. Go right ahead.
Yeah, okay, I have an actual um so a lot of times when I want to bring a particular topic to a community of practice, it's because maybe I have questions about it or I want to learn about it, right? And so when you say then turn around and say, oh, hey, why don't you start putting together the presentation? You could be the speaker. Does that also often mean maybe like facilitate a discussion?
I think it means what you said. Like you could gather people or go do some independent research or find someone to join you in this. Yeah, I didn't mean to say it would all fall on your shoulders, but yeah, like again, if someone raises the idea, it suggests to me that they have some interest in the topic. So yeah, good question. It doesn't mean that you automatically assume responsibility by by raising it, but again, this is what I mean by like try out different things. Like we've done panel discussions, we've done single guest speakers, we've done we've tried out different formats, sometimes based on what the subject matter is really, and just to see what works and what doesn't. So um, so yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to discourage anybody from raising a topic,
No,
thinking
thanks.
they will own it. Yeah. So,
Thanks. I just thought it was
yeah,
worth a clarification. So,
yeah, good point. Good point. All right, I'm going to move us along here. Unless there's any questions about this, there's probably a lot more on this page. So again, if you're thinking about embarking on this journey or you want to know more, you should definitely contact me, because I have a little process worked out here now where I sort of run this machine every month, giving you the
McLean,
highlights here. Yeah, go
McLean,
ahead.
I might have a question. So you mentioned grow and maintain the community, and you mentioned that you asked folks what they wanted to hear or talk about through a survey. how do you maintain your backlog in that sense? Like you're crossing off things you already discussed, but then, over time this might be irrelevant again. Do you survey people how you mentioned different formats. How do you get the feedback and how do you increase your backlog again?
Mm. I wish I could tell you there was an algorithm for this. This is more of an art form than it is anything else. We have a big list of topics that were community originated, probably three-quarters of them. A lot of it depends on, I'll pick UX, for example, or user experience. Multiple people suggested like, hey, let's do a session on this. I I don't consider myself knowledgeable enough to present on this. So part of bringing that one to life was finding someone who is, and we did. We have a there's an excellent resource center in the library. I think it's called User Resource Center, I believe is the name of it. And we had someone join us from there who has, I mean, they've forgotten more about user experience than I know to begin with. So Meg showed up and just and dazzled everybody with the sort of wisdom that Meg has on the topic. So I'm sort of like going around the back to answer your question. That one was gated by knowing someone who could come and speak intelligently about the topic. So it probably sat on the backlog for a while until we found that person. But when they did, it just immediately moved forward. Did I answer your question or get close to like there's no like objective or like sorter here for how things hit the agenda. It's just based on whether we can find somebody or put the content together. Does that make sense, Simone? Hopefully.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes totally sense. And I think that the slight addition here on my question was you mentioned try different formats and see how people react. How do you know how people react?
Oh, you just asked them. Uh, I
Okay,
think
so you asked
it's
during the meeting.
it's that simple. Like, or again, you could tap into this champions group of people who very frequently or actively attend. You could ask them, how did that land? Did that work? Did you like it? Did you not? Things like that. Again, don't be afraid to lean on the highly engaged to provide you feedback. Okay, I'm gonna now maybe we might be at risk here. So I was gonna try something here. Who had someone, Deirdre, maybe help me out. Who had, I think there was an idea. I already know there's the BA community practice, and there was another. Oh, Michelle, you had an idea for a community practice. I was hoping we could, for a couple minutes, try to help you as a group fill this out. Michelle, what was your idea again? What was the community?
Gosh, thank you so much. I am co-chairing a learning technology community of practice for HBS, specifically for a department. So the community has been identified. We've been talking about it. We're going to launch it for the first session in the beginning of 2026. So before classes start in earnest, we're going to have folks from the community who do course support for faculty members. Kind of we're hoping to have an idea already and do the first one with a more structured approach, but give like a suggestion box survey, just like you mentioned with Qualtrics, where we have the opportunity for folks to give us like what challenges have you faced and that you still need answers for, and what challenges have you faced that you've solved for, so that we have that opportunity for folks to kind of give each other insights that we wouldn't have in IT. So the why would be kind of that town hall sharing
Uh,
space.
Are you comfortable if we sort of put
Yeah,
your community through the through the steps here?
I would
So
love
you
it. Thank you.
so your why is I heard
Learning technologies.
learning technologies. And what do you aim to accomplish by gathering this community?
We want to empower them to not only find solutions to these common strategies, but to share them amongst themselves and to the IT community at large. Because me and my other co-chair are both on the technical side of things. Like I'm a learning designer and they are an application analyst. So we can come from like that internal process, but like they'll be the subject matter experts for the ways that they're applying them.
Okay. would you be, how I've written this, was this, again, if we're keeping it simple, stupid, is that you want to empower members of the learning technologies community to apply and share, I may have missed the second part of that, like if you were,
Yeah,
um,
empower members who facilitate course support to practice with learning technology. So that's like, I think, leveraging IT with the faculty support specialists. Sorry, I'm not keeping it simple, but
that's okay.
trying.
Member, empower members of the learning technologies community to facilitate course support to, say that one more time.
Empower members of course support
Okay.
community community to leverage learning technology.
How about that?
Yeah, that looks great.
Is that simple enough?
Hmm.
Yeah. Again, we're trying to keep it simple to start with here. Again, just like this is your charter or your constitution for this group. Um, and it doesn't have to be Michelle. What are your ideas to recruit members for this? Or so this actually this group, people who do course support, is there an existing
Yeah,
maybe email list
the
or
department is a faculty support specialist, so that has already been identified, but I
okay.
guess based on your previous slides, like recruiting members via um at HBS we have like a homepage, so it's like inviting members who are interested to sign up and become part of our mailing list. This is a hypothetical because it wouldn't apply to mine, but I'm sure that's a
Yeah.
good way to get the word out.
Are there adjacent people to faculty support specialists, like members of IT or members of, would you ever involve students in this? Or like I'm just thinking
No.
out loud. No, okay. Um and how would you stay in regular contact with them? Build a Teams room or something like that? Or
Yeah, I liked the idea of having a Teams channel. We do leverage Slack, but I like the idea of Teams because if we make a SharePoint site, it would be nice to be able to flow those two together.
oh, absolutely. Actually, and then just a quick aside, we almost went the Teams route. Um, but we kind of settled on Slack because it's a little bit easier on the eyes, like the experience of it's a little easier, and the type of things we were doing, like I can share a PDF file or a presentation file very easily in Slack and pin things. So like it just lent itself to being pretty easy using Slack. But I'm not predisposed to that. You want to pick whatever your community is most familiar with. Okay, and then launching the community. Maybe someone who isn't named Michelle, how do you think she would go about this? What would be a good way to launch this to everybody? Not all at once, not all at once. All right, I'll answer for you in the interest of time because I actually have to move us along here. The so Michelle, would you do a live event for this, do you think? Or
Yes, we would make a Zoom room, so it wouldn't be in person, but it would be live sessions, maybe like twice quarterly, depending on what's happening in the semester and what's relevant to their process.
okay. Penny's wrote, yeah, like promote this in meetings and newsletters. That's a good idea as well. Um, Michelle, you could put it at the bottom of your email signature if you were comfortable doing that, like with a link to join, things like that.
Great.
Yeah, Catherine Porter said cross post and related channels. Good idea. That's what we did on the PDF for sure. All right, so you have some good ideas here. And then grow and maintain. We've talked about some of this already. Again, we talked about like running a poll to build the backlog. Um, Backlog, if I can spell right. We talked about leaning, on champions for content and for moderation, things like that. Um, yeah, Melanie's right. Like just constantly announcing, what's next, things like that. So anyway, Deirdre, I believe we share these slides, hopefully, so we will pass along this, but
Yep.
um, anyway, this is a simple worksheet you can use to maybe plan out your own community if that's what you plan on doing. I do have to move us along here, in the interest of time here. I only have a couple more slides, and then you're free from listening to me talk for all this time. Um, this page I created, what I call just wisdom gathered along the PDF road, and I'll talk through some of these. You want to pace yourself. Like I told you, we've run almost 25 of these, um, and you want to be patient along this journey as well, because you're running a marathon, right? So you don't want to pour all your energy that you have into this into the first session, because again, there or session or sessions or even moderating a chat room, because it's not necessarily about that moment in time. It's about facilitating this interaction amongst people throughout the journey. Um, this is something I think is probably good advice in a community of practice or anything you do. You want to embrace success as well as failures, and you want to learn from both of those situations. So it's okay to fail so long as you learn, something from that failure. We've tried some things that I thought were real bangers, and we've tried some things that didn't work, right? So we know what not to try again, right? But anyway, again, don't be afraid to experiment and try things out and seek out the help from other people, because you might really pleasantly learn some things just through that experimentation. Okay, this next one's really important. Psychological safety is a term that I think is definitely used somewhat interchangeably with things. But what the point I'm getting at here is, you want to create a safety zone where people are comfortable, fill in the blank, asking questions, contributing, seeking out help. That's going to be key to your the community's success here. To put it quite differently, like if someone posts something, it doesn't make sense, the moderator want to jump in and be like, hey, tell us a little more about what you're asking for. What were you trying to get at here? As opposed to dismissing the idea that they put forwards. Again, you want people to feel like it's okay to make themselves vulnerable by asking a question to the group. I already mentioned this one. Find experts who can deliver your content and be active. Oh, this is a great one. This is a great lesson learned, and I've learned this over the course of the last maybe 6 or 9 months. Since you may find new members in unexpected places, and you want to embrace them just the same. This started as a Hewitt group, a very Hewitt focused group. It has certainly evolved. The PDF I'm talking about, it has certainly evolved into something that transcends Hewitt. We have folks from Harvard Business School, the medical school, School of Public Health, the Kennedy School. Like we end up getting attendees who are doing, project management or scrum mastering and things like that from across even the schools now, which I think is really special. Again, that's where the breaking boundaries idea came from here. And the whole idea is this is just a group of people who are like-minded, trying to learn and improve and share ideas. And I think it's just, I'm like blown away when a really diverse group of people from all over the university show up to the events or contribute to the channel. So anyway, that's a secret sauce there to look for. You may evolve to this. You may start up front. Who knows? But this is a really great way to build community. I already talked a lot about marketing, and I only have 4 minutes left, so I'm going to move on to this. If you want to dive deeper, I believe we will share these slides out. I've I've called out, I've done the searching for you, actually. So there's a couple links here that you want to peruse about success factors in building community of practice. There's actually an HBS article, which I found really interesting. This was a random blog post that I found from someone who has I wrote this presentation or started building it if you visit this link, this person basically wrote it themselves about a community they began, a development community they began, which is I thought was, and it's really simple to read and understand. So this is not from a big, Harvard Business Publishing or anything like that. This middle link is just from a person who put this information on a blog. And then Gartner, there's a link to this article that which has some really great information about building a community practice that you want to visit to if this is your thing. Lastly, you can contact me. I'll take your call. You can Slack me, Teams me, set up a meeting. I'm happy to assist and offer guidance. If you're on this journey already or about to embark on it, I'm more than happy to help you. So anyway, watch for this slide deck when we're done. There's some helpful resources here for you to visit. Lastly, and we saw some of these in the chat, we've got there's already a lot of communities you can join here. I've mentioned a couple, but by no means is this all inclusive. There's an Agile ABCD group. There's a Matt, if you're still with us, I saw you mention the Salesforce community practice. There's a Heart community of practice. Barbara on my team hosts a Smartsheet Knowledge Exchange, which I think is a micro community of practice of people wanting to know more about how to using Smartsheet. I did not list all of these. There's a link here where you can visit and find more information about the Hewitt sponsored ones, but definitely there are resources out there if you just want to join a community of practice. And I didn't leave a lot of questions, but I'll pause here. Any other thoughts, questions, comments, apprehensions based on everything we've talked about today? All right, I'm looking through the chat here. Catherine Porter, you asked if there's a list to join the PDF. If you early in the meeting, or you can just contact me. We'll add you to that for sure. Amy asked, yeah, how much time? Oh, Penny already answered it. 6 to 8 hours. Yeah, it could be more or less, but I think that's a good average of the time I spend moderating this PDF each month. All right, we're at time here. Deirdre, I don't know if you want to close this out, but thanks very much for joining. I enjoyed putting this together and I enjoyed your comments. But let's not stop this. If you have questions or ideas, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. Back to you, Deirdre.
Yeah, all I have to say is thank you so much, McLean, for sharing this awesome information, and thank you everyone who participated today. Give us a few days to get the recording posted, but we will send that all out to you folks once that is up. But have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.